Sally's goodbye regale with Billy, Nick's risky Matt trap. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Monday, March 2nd, reveal that Sally Spectra's farewell mess with Billy Abbott may not go according to plan. Nick Newman will also enter the peril zone as he sets a trap that could prove downright infectious to Matt Clark. For starters, let's talk about the farewell regale that Billy intends to have with Sally. Billy would rather it be a conciliation regale rather, which is exactly why Audra Charles is concerned about this mess passing at all. Once Sally has a chance to really suppose about Audra's warning, could she skip the regale altogether? That'd be one way to ail it, but Sally seems enough confident she's got the restraint to stand her ground against Billy. With that in mind, the regale may move forward, but Audra may be right about this idea ending in disaster. Indeed, if Sally holds establishment and doesn't reunite with Billy, some conflict could erupt and ensure that the spouses are no longer civil with each other. One way or another, Y&R spoilers suggest Billy and Sally's mess will get derailed. It'll be intriguing to see how effects might blow up and whether Billy will lash out at Sally as a result. Over with Nick, he'll move full speed ahead when it comes to a parlous trap for Matt. The Bubbies. Can't go after Matt since he's not a fugitive and hasn't committed any further crimes yet, so it's up to the Newmans to handle him. It looks like Nick will have a request for Victoria Newman as he works to put the pieces in place for this setup. Sharon Newman will be willing to pitch in as well, but Nick won't want to put either of them in peril. That's why Nick may fly hand in glove at a certain point and make sure he's the only bone, putting his life on the line to draw Matt closer. As for Lauren Fenmore Baldwin, she may give Phyllis Summers' offer some real thought. However, Michael may contend it's a terrible idea. If Lauren comes clean to Michael Baldwin about Phyllis asking her to work at Newman Enterprises, anyone linked to Phyllis and her preemption move will be poisonous in Victor Newman's eyes. Matt's $5 million demand to save Noah. The Young and the Restless recap indicates that Matt Clark will text Nick Newman and reveal what it'll take to cover Noah Newman. Phyllis Summers will also have an offer for Lauren Fenmore Baldwin to pound over. So let's talk about what's ahead on Y&R. At Chancellor, Sally Spectra will stop by and let Billy know she's hired Audra Charles as her co-CEO. After Sally says the name of the company is now Spectra-Charles Media, Billy will be thrown before deciding he understands. Billy won't see why their particular relationship has to end because of a professional disagreement, so he'll drive Sally to have regale with him. Sally will repel the idea, so Billy will suggest it could be a farewell regale if she's determined to stand her ground. After Sally agrees, she'll fill Audra in on the news latterly. Sally will act like she just wants to be civil with Billy and end the relationship on a good note, but Audra will worry Billy will move Sally to get back together. Indeed, if that doesn't be, Audra will point out that Billy may not take no for an answer. That could turn this civil bifurcation into a contentious one, but Audra won't be suitable to talk Sally out of moving ahead with this regale. At Newman Enterprises, Lauren will surprise Phyllis when she shows up to praise her for undermining Victor Newman and offer her congratulations. Phyllis will suspect there's a catch, but Lauren will make it clear that she's being genuine then. That said, Lauren will suspect Phyllis has a little guilt over what she's done since it's hurting Nick and Summer Newman. Phyllis will continue to defend her conduct, but Lauren will suggest she could be a sympathetic observance over a celebratory breakfast. At the GCAC, Billy will stop by Lauren and Phyllis' table. Lauren will assume Phyllis didn't hand Billy Chancellor out of the virtuousness of her heart, but he'll act like it wouldn't take important to move him to go up against Victor. Once Billy struts off, Phyllis will eventually push Lauren to come work for her. Lauren will be flattered, but she'll contend she's content where she's now. Phyllis will suppose Lauren may just be perfunctory rather, so she'll play up this new adventure and push Lauren to at least suppose about joining her at Newman Enterprises. At Crimson Lights, Victoria Newman and Sharon Newman will worry about Nick maybe getting too dependent on his anodynes. Sharon and Victoria will also bandy Matt being on the loose and how that's going to be Nick's focus, so there's no chance of him going with Victoria to Milan on a summer charge. Outdoors, Nick will struggle with pain as he gazes at the fentanyl bag. After Nick takes a lozenge out, he'll throw it on the ground and try to repel. Still, Nick's pain will eventually win out, so he'll pick the lozenge up from the snow and gulp it down with some water. Next, Nick will join Sharon and Victoria outside. Once some textbooks come in from Matt, he'll make it clear to Nick that he wants $5 million to get relief of him for good and ensure that he leaves Noah alone. Nick will give Sharon and Victoria that information, so they'll realize they need to set a trap to bait Matt out of caching. Once Nick comes up with an idea, he'll suggest Matt won't be suitable to repel it. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Nick's parlor strategy won't go according to plan, so stay tuned. On the Monday, March 2nd occasion of The Young and the Restless, the emotional stakes in Genoa City rise to a fever pitch as shattered connections, dangerous crapshoots, and buried resentments collide in ways no bone can completely control. What begins as a putatively civil farewell between Sally Spectra and Billy Abbott snappily spirals into commodity far more complicated, while Nick Newman steps into decreasingly unfaithful home with a plan that could bring him everything. As always in the Newman route, power, pride, and particular demons mix into an unpredictable storm, and by the end of the hour, the fallout threatens to reshape multiple lives. At Chancellor, Sally makes her intentions clear. She informs Billy that she has officially hired Audra Charles as her co-CEO and that the company will now operate under the bold new name Spectra-Charles Media. The rebranding is further than ornamental, it's emblematic. Sally is planting her flag, declaring independence not just professionally but emotionally. For her, this is about stepping out of Billy's shadow and structure commodity that cannot be dismissed as an answer design or a romantic extension. Billy is visibly rattled at first. The name change stings, the cooperation with Audra feels pointed, and the futurity in Sally's tone unsettles him. But Billy, ever the conjurer when cornered, snappily pivots. He insists he understands. He claims he respects her ambition. What he doesn't understand, still, is why their particular relationship must suffer because of a business disagreement. Billy pushes for regale, commodity civil, commodity mature. Sally resists, seeing the emotional trap beneath the polite assignation. She knows Billy well enough to fate when he's maneuvering. Still, when he reframes it as a farewell regale, suggesting check rather than conciliation, Sally hesitates. A part of her craves a clean ending. Another part wants to prove she can face him without folding. Eventually, she agrees. Latterly, she updates Audra, who incontinently bristles at the idea. Audra warns her bluntly Billy doesn't do check. He does persuasion. He does pressure. And if Sally doesn't give him the answer he wants, he won't walk down still. Sally listens but remains confident. She believes she has the restraint to hold her ground. She insists the regale is about civility, about ending effects with quality. Audra counters that quality infrequently survives when self-esteem are bruised. If Billy feels rejected, not just romantically but professionally, he may lash out. And if that happens, the amicable split Sally is visioning could decline into open warfare. Despite the warning, Sally refuses to cancel. She won't let fear mandate her choices. But as the evening looms, pressure simmers beneath her calm surface. Across city at Newman Enterprises, Lauren Fenmore Baldwin surprises Phyllis Summers with an unanticipated visit. Rather than commendation, Lauren offers congratulations for Phyllis's recent maneuvering against Victor Newman. The praise feels nearly disorienting. Phyllis, ever suspicious, quests for the catch. Lauren insists she's sincere, at least incompletely. She admires boldness. But she also gently points out that Phyllis's conduct have contributory damage. Nick and Summer are caught in the crossfire. Phyllis defends herself, arguing that she's playing the long game, that occasionally short-term pain is necessary for long-term gain. Lauren suggests breakfast, lower celebratory, more reflective. A chance to examine motives without the armor. At the GCAC, Billy compactly interrupts their table, adding another subcast of awkwardness. Lauren notes that Phyllis didn't hand Billy Chancellor out of pure liberality. Billy smirks, inferring it wouldn't take important persuading to push him into battle against Victor. After he leaves, Phyllis pivots. She invites Lauren to join her at Newman Enterprises. The offer flatters Lauren, but she hesitates. Fidelity to Michael weighs heavily. So does the reality that aligning with Phyllis could make her radioactive in Victor's eyes. Phyllis frames it as an adventure, a fresh chapter. Lauren promises to suppose about it but mistrustfulness lingers. Meanwhile, at Crimson Lights, Sharon Newman and Victoria Newman share growing concern about Nick. They've noticed the strain in him, the physical pain he tries to mask and the emotional burden he refuses to partake. The trouble posed by Matt Clark looms large. With Matt technically not a fugitive and having committed no new crimes, the authorities are limited. The Newmans are left to defend their own. Victoria mentions her forthcoming trip to Milan for summer's business matters, but both women know Nick's focus is singular negativing Matt. Outside in the cold wave, Nick confronts his private battle. Pain radiates through him, a memorial of injuries and stress compounded by insomniac nights. He gapes at the small fentanyl capsule in his hand. The internal struggle is visible. Pride versus relief, discipline versus despair. He drops it into the snow, determined to repel. Minutes latterly, agony wins. He retrieves it, swallowing both the drug and a surge of shame. The moment underscores how precarious his position truly is. He's preparing to risk his life, yet he's fighting a reliance he doesn't completely control. Textbooks from Matt arrive soon after. The demand is blunt 5 million bones. In exchange for leaving Noah Newman alone. The trouble is unmistakable. Nick shares the information with Sharon and Victoria. The three snappily realize paying won't break anything. It'll only buoy Matt. A trap becomes the only feasible option. Nick proposes a setup, one so tempting Matt won't repel. Sharon and Victoria contend on helping, but Nick draws a line however. It'll be him, if someone is going into the line of fire. The plan unfolds fleetly. Nick arranges communication channels designed to bait Matt into believing the plutocrat exchange is imminent. Victoria coordinates logistics still, using her commercial wit to mask fiscal movements. Sharon prepares for emotional fallout, bracing for worst-case scripts. Yet beneath the strategic calm lies fear. Matt is changeable. Possessed men are dangerous. And Nick's physical vulnerability adds another variable no bone can completely alleviate. As Sally prepares for her regale with Billy, pressure parallels Nick's raising adventure. At the eatery, Billy is attentive, nearly disarmingly so. He reminisces about their early spark, about participated ambition. He frames their split as a misreading rather than a abecedarian incompatibility. Sally listens but doesn't waver. She reiterates her need for autonomy, for a cooperation erected on equivalency, not emotional reliance. Billy's charm begins to crack. Frustration seeps through. He questions Audra's influence. He implies Sally is being manipulated. When she stands firm, the civility fractures. Sharp words replace soft tones. The farewell regale derails exactly as Audra prognosticated. Billy doesn't supplicate but he doesn't accept defeat gracefully moreover. His final words carry a warning edge, intimating that professional competition may turn particular. Sally leaves shaken yet bent. Closure, she realizes, infrequently comes neatly packaged. Contemporaneously, Nick's trap reaches its critical moment. A offered plutocrat transfer, a discreet position, controlled communication, everything appears watertight. But Matt is foxy than anticipated. Rather of walking directly into guardianship, he alters the script. A last nanosecond change forces Nick to extemporize, segregating him from backup. Sharon senses commodity is wrong when communication stalls. Victoria scrambles to reroute security measures. The trap, designed to entoil Matt, begins to strain around Nick rather. In those suspended twinkles, the true cost of Nick's adventure crystallizes. This isn't just about 5 million bones. It's about pride, protection, and the grim Newman instinct to handle pitfalls internally. When battle eventually occurs, it's explosive, emotionally and strategically. Matt taunts Nick about his family, about Noah's vulnerability. Nick holds his ground, but the physical risk is apparent. Pain flickers across his face, a memorial of his compromised strength. Though the full outgrowth remains uncertain, spoilers allude that Nick's strategy won't unfold as planned. Whether Matt escapes or the trap incompletely succeeds, consequences ripple outward. Trust erodes. Lines harden. And the Newman family braces for prolonged conflict. Back at Newman Enterprises, Lauren intimately confides in Michael Baldwin about Phyllis's job offer. Michael is scarified. Aligning with Phyllis during an active power struggle with Victor is parlous. Lauren acknowledges the peril but admits she's tempted. The appeal of reinvention competes with fidelity and caution. The decision remains undetermined, but its implicit impact is significant. By occasion's end, multiple fronts remain unstable. Sally's attempt at state check has burned new pressure with Billy. Nick's daring initiative against Matt has exposed vulnerabilities both physical and strategic. Phyllis continues to maneuver, while Lauren stands at a crossroads. And through it all, Victor's brewing presence ensures that no move goes unnoticed. In true Genoa City fashion, every action triggers response. Farewells come feuds. Traps come tests of abidance. And fidelity is measured not in words, but in pitfalls taken. As March begins, the residers of Genoa City find themselves on shifting ground where independence demands immolation, and courage may come at an enduring price. As the fallout from Monday's chaos continues to ripple through the young and the restless, the emotional temperature in Genoa City refuses to cool. What originally appeared to be insulated conflicts, Sally's doomed farewell regale, Nick's dangerous setup for Matt, Phyllis's commercial maneuvering, begin to cross in unanticipated and explosive ways. Every character believes they're acting out of necessity. Every decision, still, carries unintended consequences that hang to redraw alliances and enkindle new battles. Sally returns home from her disastrous regale with Billy feeling steadier than she anticipated but not untouched. The evening had started politely enough. Billy had been attentive, reflective, nearly humble. For a transitory moment, Sally wondered whether check was actually possible. But once she reaffirmed that Spectra-Charles media would move forward without him, commodity in Billy shifted. The nostalgia disgruntled into blameworthiness. He inferred Audra had poisoned her perspective. He suggested Sally was sabotaging commodity rare and important out of pride. What hurt most wasn't the wrathfulness, it was the turn down to hear her. Sally realized that Billy didn't actually want conciliation, he wanted control. He wanted consolation that she'd still circumvent him emotionally, indeed if their business paths diverged. When she denied him that comfort, the civility collapsed. Billy's tone stoned, and though he stopped suddenly of atrocity, the turnabout was unmistakable. If she chose competition, she'd get it. Audra is staying when Sally walks in. One look at her face tells Audra everything. No flaunting, no I told you so. Just quiet evidence. Sally admits the regale went off the rails. Billy didn't scream. He didn't supplicate. But he made it clear that he won't sit still while Spectra-Charles media encroaches on his home. Audra listens precisely, formally calculating. Competition doesn't scarify her. Emotional trap does. She presses Sally gently. Did any part of her jiggle? Sally answers actually a small part of her did. That's what scares her. Billy still knows how to reach her. But she also knows that staying tethered to that dynamic would erode everything she's trying to make. For the first time, Sally speaks about her ambition without reason. She wants commodity that's hers, earned, defended, inarguable. And if that means Billy becomes a rival rather of a mate, so be it. Across city, Nick's night unfolds with far further immediate peril. His trap for Matt begins unraveling the moment Matt refuses to follow the anticipated script. Rather of arriving at the destined position for the supposed plutocrat exchange, Matt redirects the meeting through a series of last nanosecond instructions. Nick senses the shift but proceeds anyway, refusing to show vacillation. He tells Sharon and Victoria to stay back, to trust him. The physical pain he's battling doesn't help. Though he managed to push through before, the strain of the battle magnifies it. Every movement feels heavier, every breath sharper. Yet Nick channels that discomfort into focus. When he eventually comes face to face with Matt in a shadowed parking structure, the pressure is suffocating. Matt doesn't look hopeless. He looks amused. He taunts Nick about the 5 million bones. About how fluently sweat can loosen a father's grip on rationality. He circles him verbally, probing for weakness. Nick refuses to give him one. He tells Matt the plutocrat is ready but so are consequences. Matt laughs, suggesting Nick has always overrated his capability to control issues. The exchange grows hotter. And in a split second of distraction, Matt attempts to bolt. What Matt doesn't anticipate is that Nick has prepared further contingencies than he revealed. While he claimed on being the visible bait, he still coordinated with trusted security labor force deposited further out. The detention in communication before wasn't a failure, it was a recalibration. When Matt tries to flee, he's interdicted, not dramatically, not violently, but decisively enough to disrupt his plan. Still, the palm is deficient. Matt slips.